So I'm sure you guys remember how a couple of days I spoke about the beef that was going on between Tommy Lair and Candace Owens. That essentially resulted due to the Kanye West debacle that ended up happening. So basically, Candace Owens was such a liar and a fraud that even Kanye had to bail. Basically, there was what I analyze as the straw that broke the camel's back, where she lied and claimed that Kanye designed the Blexit merch, which looked really horrible, by the way. Which is probably the reason why Kanye did not want to be at all associated with it. And basically, Kanye he dipped with a very, very strong ending statement, not a soft ending statement, even in the slightest. It was a very, very strong ending statement, and essentially consisted of, I have been used for ideologies and support of things that I don't support. And he literally announced a hiatus from politics. Is that going to fall through? I don't know. I think so, but there's no way to know for sure. But there were a bunch of conservatives who were lambasting Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens for essentially getting rid of, who's really become the main figurehead for the right. And so, amidst talking about this, Kyle Kulinski divulged some very interesting information about Candace Owens. Now, for context, Politicon, I went into it in super depth, covered it a lot. Political convention that was going on. People do debates, panel discussions. And basically, Kyle Kulinski was scheduled to have a debate with Ann Coulter. Well, lo and behold, less than 2 weeks to go, Ann Coulter backs out because she has a very odd, weird complex if she's better than other people, because she has like 14 New York Times bestsellers. Super random metric, by the way. But obviously it's wrong. She's very dumb. But she backs out, right? So what does that mean? That means that Kyle doesn't have anyone to debate. So obviously the logical next step is, okay, we need to find someone for Kyle Kulinski to actually debate. Well, he essentially, what he explained was, in his video breaking it down, where he talked about his Politicon schedule, he basically explained that he submitted a list of people to Politicon. Additionally, he also stated that he would be fine with doing 2v1s and 3v1s, which is pure insanity. No one would do that. So it just goes to show, how flexible he was being in terms of scheduling. And according to him, it was acknowledged by Politicon that was a statement that they acknowledged. They said that, easy to work with. But basically, Jesse Lee Peterson was one of the people that he floated. And we know that because Kyle talked about that, and he also did a zinger, essentially a gotcha on a Jesse Lee Peterson worker, I believe it was. He literally works for him. But basically, Candace Owens was one of the names. Candace Owens and Tommy Lahren, by the way, both of them. They both were names. Now, we know 100% fact that Tommy Lahren knows who Kyle Kulinski is because they got into a very heated back and forth on Twitter, so there's no way that Tommy doesn't know who Kyle is. She passed, of course, coward. Very obvious reason, she's going to get spanked. Now, Candace Owens was another name that was floated. We actually were originally under the impression that there was going to be a 2v2 debate, a legendary one at that, between Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens. That there was going to be a 2v2 that would have been a legendary 2v2 for the ages. That didn't end up happening because apparently there was miscommunication going on. But Candace Owens backed out of a debate with Kyle Kulinski. She passed. Actually, pardon me, she didn't back out. She never accepted. She chickened out, is the correct term to use. So, recall, by the way, and I'll remind you guys this later on, but Candace Owens dogpiled on Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez when Ben Shapiro offered to debate. Charlie Kirk offered to do it, and then Candace Owens also offered to do it. So keep that in mind as well for some good old-fashioned context. But Kyle's going to divulge some information that was not previously divulged. He is going to explain the real reason as to why Candace Owens, because remember, Candace didn't just back out of the debate. She didn't show up to Politicon. She didn't go to Politicon for anything. So let us see what Kyle has to say.
Owens! Okay, now I have to tell this story. I don't think I'm supposed to tell this story, but I'm going to tell this story because it's so relevant to this conversation. It has to be brought up. When Ann Coulter pulled out of the debate with me, hashtag Ancient Ann, hashtag Cowardly Coulter. What a joke she is. I want to debate somebody big like Rob Reiner. Ridiculous. Okay, so she pulled out, and I was like, shit, that sucks. I need somebody of like big stature, equivalent stature to debate because I don't want to let my fans down. You guys wanted to see me debate Coulter, so I submitted a list. Hey, here are the people I'm willing to debate. It was a long list, by the way. Super long list. One of the people on the list was Candace Owens. Now, you know the deal. Virtually everybody passed, and Scotty Nell Hughes, God bless her, accepted. Thank you, Scotty. But one of the people on the list was Candace Owens, and so when they were running through the list, okay, this person passed, this person's doing this other thing, this person blah, blah, blah. When it got to Candace Owens, I was like, really? Candace Owens can't do it? And the response I got was, her team feels like she's not quite ready for that, a one-on-one, so not happening. Look at the wording. Her team feels like she's not quite ready for that. You know what that means, right? Listen, if you put her on stage with somebody who knows their shit and they know the policy substance and they're good at debating it and pointing out flaws in her argument, she's going to collapse. She's going to collapse because she doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly what I'd expect. But it was stunning to hear the admission. Like, she's not quite ready for that. Like, oh, shit. So she is. Everybody who looks at what she's doing could easily point to what she's doing and say, oh, so she's the black woman that the right puts out there as if, like, see, our policies aren't against black women. We have a black woman who's on our side. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. But to hear the admission of, like, she's not ready for that yet. We need more coaching and we need her to regurgitate more propaganda talking points and learn more about the propaganda talking points before she could do a one-on-one or something like that. Oh. And she had the nerve to say that Tomi Lahren is, quote, intellectually bankrupt. Hilarious. I actually agree with you, Candace, but you know who else is intellectually bankrupt? You. And I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm just trying to tell it like it is. You know, I'm sure both of these people are fine people on a personal level. But for those of you who don't agree with me, just do yourself a favor. Watch Joe Rogan and Candace Owens. Joe Rogan had Candace on the podcast. And I think he found out very quickly, and you could tell by what happened in the course of the podcast, that Joe was like, oh, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You're just playing a role. You're like, I'm the right-wing black lady. That's what I am. It's so transparent. It's so see-through. Come on. Intellectually bankrupt. Candace Owens is accusing somebody of intellectually bankrupt. Holy shit. Next thing you know, Dave Rubin will accuse somebody of being intellectually bankrupt.
Damn, so we did not know that information prior to Kyle just divulging that. By the way, I like the little riff on Dave Rubin at the end. I thought that was funny, the little jab at him. I found that pretty entertaining. But anyways, back to the Candace Owens thing. Basically, what Kyle just said there is the reason why Candace Owens pulled out was because basically upon analysis from her team, which is Turning Point USA, right? Charlie Kirk, all of the Coke daddies there that fund her, and him, all of the Coke daddies and everyone. I don't know obviously the Koch brothers weren't literally in on this, but there had to be some other employees at Turning Point USA or friends amongst Charlie Kirk as well who decided that it was a poor idea, it was a bad idea to have Candace Owens debate someone of substance like Kyle Kulinski because she would collapse very quickly. Now, this is very self-evident based on the data that we already have, based on precedent. Now, as you guys recall, because I cite this a lot, because I think it's it's so astonishing that it is something that should not be forgotten. It's extremely remarkable, unforgettable, right? Candace Owens goes on the Joe Rogan Experience. First of all, her story about why she changed into conservatism makes no sense. But also, they get into a debate about climate change because the nonsense that Candace Owens was spouting made no sense whatsoever. She was talking about how the government was shutting down factories, which doesn't make any sense because it's the private corporations who are shipping jobs overseas. So how the hell is that the government's fault that they're doing that? It's the government's fault for inaction. But she literally claimed that the government was shutting them down. She just gish-galloped random stuff like somehow the issue that she thinks is the problem encompassing Americans is that entrepreneurs need a piece of paper from the government. What? Oh my! It's the brain meme that's in full effect right now. But basically, they get into a debate about climate change, and it was so unbelievably stupid. I can't even begin to describe it. Although I will describe it in depth. Basically, Candace Owens claims that there is. First of all, this is the biggest thing, right? She claims that there was actual disagreement amongst the scientific community. This is, of course, massively false, and this is a point cited by many people on the left who are pro-environment, against people who are climate change deniers or people who are essentially like climate change paralysis, paralyzed. I don't even know the right word for that, but they don't want to actually do anything. They say that it exists because they want to get you off their back because you're pointing out they're denying fact, but they don't actually want to do anything about it. So basically, you have her claim that there is disparity amongst the scientific community, which is completely false. Of course, the vast majority of scientists say that climate change is real and that it is man-made. So that was the first flaw there. Joe Rogan presents with evidence. He brings up an article that shows the polling data, and Candace Owens' response is not, wow, look at those statistics. Her response, rather, is, oh, but who are they polling? And so her idea is some weird, like, conspiracy idea that basically the people at the website who write, they're polling themselves. Insanity, pure insanity. Bring up the scientificamerican.com. She responds with saying that, oh, well, a .com, like if they weren't making money off it, like a .org, like overload. And then they bring up a .org, and then she responds saying, I like, don't like, believe, like, this, at, like, all, like. So it's like, all right, bro. Like. Trillion likes, by the way. And just so frustrating listening to her, how dumb she is. But just for 1 second, imagine that moron getting on the stage to debate Kyle Kulinski. She and her, although the right would not stop revering her because she's essentially immune from all of sort of anything against her because she's managed to survive this long, which is pure insanity due to I've talked about how much of a fraud she is with the whole social autopsy thing and everything, and obviously being a sellout, she doesn't really care, and all of that stuff. So the big issue here is that amongst this sort of thing where she's calling out Tomi Lahren, obviously she's an imbecile and a moron. And I thought that this information was super interesting. And by the way, as I said, I was going to remind you, this is the person who offered to do a debate with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and I don't remember if she implied that she's a coward or not. I don't know for not doing it. But the point here being that this is the person who offered to do a debate and basically attempted to pressure Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez into a debate, which made no sense, and imply that she is some sort of a coward for not obliging to said ridiculous debate. On second thought, by the way, Ocasio should have taken that debate, honestly. I mean, she would have got, the campaign money, I guess I don't even know if she would want to take it in the first place. Probably not. But holy smokes, literally any 5-year-old can dismantle Candace Owens upon first reading and hearing of what she says. That is honestly how dumb she is. It's insane how stupid she is. A very, common usage of the Gish Gallop method. often filled with things that are just complete filler that don't actually mean anything. When she says entrepreneur and, this piece of paper from the government, and that's the issue that we have in the United States of America. Not that people are, dying because they don't have access to basic health care, or that they're going bankrupt on medical bills, or that they're going bankrupt trying to, get a higher education. None of those you're just skirting the real issues. It's like when Dave Chappelle says in Black Bush, you're trying to skirt all the real issues. Like, come on, dude. Oh my God, it's really painful to watch. And obviously, she, gives Trump the verbal blowjob all day, so that's kind of how that works. But it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. I mean, it's crazy.